Like maybe you should do a 10% down. Maybe you should do a 15. Leave that other 5% for just in case money. So you don't have to break your retirement account. You don't have to break a CD. You don't have to liquidate stocks or crypto or anything that you're into. Just so they have a cushion. A lot of folks in the financial industry say you're supposed to have 6 months of all your bills set aside. And to get a home, if you all of a sudden you have one kid and you got another one, you're scrambling. You got to move. You're in a 1-2-bedroom apartment. You're like, I need a house.
Hi there. Welcome to Cocktail and Conversations. I am glad you guys are with me today. We are excited because we have a guest that's going to be talking about a topic that many of us are bringing into conversation today, especially with today's mortgage rates. If you are a new buyer, home buyer, if you are someone that's interested in investing in properties, if you're someone that's looking to refinance your current property, you want to listen to this show. I have here as a special guest, Tim Colon, who is a licensed mortgage originator. He has come to us to share his thoughts, his views on what you as a new home investor, you as a new home buyer, you as someone that's looking to refinance should consider before you actually make that first step. With that being said, Tim, how long have you been in this business?
So this year will be my 13th year in the industry.
13th year. Wow.
Yeah.
So you've pretty much seen all of the ebb and flows of the market with the rates as high as they are today versus what they were about 5 years ago.
Yep. I've seen it all. I mean, with history, I've seen the rates been at historical highs and historical lows. Unfortunately, I wasn't around for the market crash back in 2008, but we've learned a lot since then.
So are you finding that you're seeing a lot of home buyers still given today's rates?
They're still buying with our current rate situation. Unfortunately, the housing market in the country, I think we're like 4 million homes short. So people need to buy, even if they have to travel further away, people are still buying.
What are some of the biggest challenges that you're starting to notice with regard to being able to afford a home?
Well, you nailed on the head with affordability. I mean, income went up. I mean, in New York, I primarily do business in New York. During COVID, I think you needed to make about $103,000 to afford a decent home. And now it's all the way up to like $130,000 to be able to transact.
Wow. How big of a role does credit play in that? And of course, I know the obvious, yes, the higher the credit score, the easier it is possibly to get a loan. But is that really a big factor as much as having the ability to be able to finance the initial deposits and what have you?
So it depends on which market we're targeting. I mean, first-time home buyers, there are some programs that are more credit forgiving. We can go to lower FICO scores to get a loan. For like a second-time home buyer or someone looking to buy an investment home, those are much more credit sensitive. So they do need stronger scores, especially in those scenarios.
Are people now buying more? Especially with the market. On my side, we've been seeing the market just go up year over year for the past 3 or 4 years, exempt 2021. Having said that, when we start to look at the market cycle, are you starting to see more investment purchases of properties, or are you just seeing really first-time home buyers?
Investments have slowed dramatically. I mean, cash deals have gone up, but investments with rates being as high as they are, I mean, there's different pockets. I mean, you got to really find a diamond in the rough to find an investment home. Self-employed people are still buying. A lot of my clients have transitioned to entrepreneurs and self-employed folks, so they're buying in the current climate. But as far as rent is going up, but it's not, you can increase the rent so much when you're getting a 6, 7, 8% rate, to try to make some money on your deal.
I've been hearing that developers and builders were doing a lot of buybacks or buying rates. Can you expound on that? Where a new home buyer will go try to purchase a property, and the developer, even though the rate might be 7%, they may buy a rate down to 6.
So they on new construction. You're talking about new construction,
Yeah.
right? So new builds. There's builder incentives where they temporarily lower the interest rate, or they lower the rate permanently, or a mixture of both. So there's for people who are like on the fence, there was a product that I was pitching where you could buy a home, and let's say for argument's sake your interest rate was 7%.
Mm-hmm.
For the first year they would drop it to 5%. The second year would go up to 6%, and then on the final year go back up to 7. It's a way to help folks, get into the home, ease the payment, ease the transition of renting to buying. But they're fully aware it's not like we're tricking them. They're fully aware, like, hey, you're just getting a temporarily low interest rate, and builders will buy it down for them as an incentive to buy that home since they're getting a new construction.
If a person were given that opportunity, are there advantages to that versus a loan? An ARM?
The interest rate, so an ARM is going to adjust. An ARM is an adjustable rate mortgage. And the ARM will adjust over, it'll be locked for, let's say, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending which one you pick. But the 2-1 buy down or 3-1 buy down that you mentioned, that's a 30-year fix.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I don't remember if you can combine them, but having the 30-year, it makes people feel a lot easier. It's like, okay, it's temporarily low now. I'm in it for 30 years. The maximum your payment can go up to is this, since you already know your interest rate will be here. With the adjustable rate, your interest rate can go up 1% every year once that fixed period is over, and then it goes up every 6 months. So let's say you got a 3-year ARM, it's fixed for 3 years. Now all of a sudden, 6 months, maximum can go up to is 1%. So if the market's performing terribly, maximum you get hit 1%, then 1% again, then 1% again. And there's like thresholds where the buy down is temporary. And the mindset behind it is that within 2 or 3 years when you're doing that buy down, your payment, you should be able to refinance. Hopefully rates have come down in that interim that you can refinance into a permanently low interest rate.
That's interesting, and it actually leads me to a segue. We had prior to you coming on set, we actually polled a few of our viewers and asked them what questions would they like to hear if they were looking at buying a home. And one of the viewers responded, if they were looking to buy a home now, what should be some of the first steps they should do in preparation of buying a home?
So that's a great question. First step, I do many consultations on getting people pre-approved, but even before they're ready to pre-approve, we do like a pre-approval consultation just to get to that next step. You want to make sure your credit is solid. Make sure your credit card balances are paid down. Let's say you're not ready today, but you think by the time your savings, maybe you have a bonus, maybe your retirement will have some money in it. You want to make sure your credit card balances are down to 30% of their limits. You don't want to have any late payments. It's very important to stay on top of latenesses because that stays on your credit for 7 years. Paying the credit card balances down, having money set aside. If it's a consultation, they're like, hey, I only have a few bucks saved up, but I really want to know how to buy a home. I'm like, all right, you're going to need, 3% of the purchase price for your down payment, and then another, 3, 4, 5%, depending on what state you're buying in, for closing costs.
That's actually a very good point you asked. So what percentage should a buyer bring to the table if they're looking to purchase a house? Should it be 3%? Should it be 5%? Is it beneficial for one to actually pay down the mortgage prior to even closing? Or should I put as much down as they possibly can?
It really depends on their financial situation. The bare minimum to get into a home is 3%. There's 3% loans set up for first-time home buyers. They must be a first-time home buyer. 3.5% for, you can be a first-time home buyer, you could be a second-time home buyer, you're selling and you're buying a new home and you want to do the 3.5% FHA program, you can do that. For the folks that have 10, 15, 20%, that's, a lot of people save up just to 20%. Mm-hmm. So it's really, I look at the whole picture, which I'm sure you do too, mm-hmm. And say, all right, I only have 20%, but this is every, with all my dollars saved up. Yes, I've got some retirement money, but all my liquid cash is up to 20%. Well, the national average is 10% down payment. So,
oh, wow.
So even if you have 20%, I compare the numbers with folks. I'm not an order taker. I say, all right, you have 20%. I was like, do you have any other monies? Put everything on the table. Let's, figure out a plan. I'm like, maybe you should do a 10% down. Maybe you should do a 15. Leave that other 5% for just in case money. So you don't have to break your retirement account. You don't have to break a CD. You don't have to liquidate stocks or crypto or anything what you're into. Just so they have a cushion. You know, a lot of folks in the financial industry say you're supposed to have 6 months of all your bills set aside. But and to get a home, and if you all of a sudden you have one kid and you got another one, you're scrambling. You got to move. You're in a
That is true.
2-bedroom apartment. You're like, I need a house. So I don't see a lot of folks with the 6 months liquid. Like they'll have it in retirement. But then now we don't want to say everyone, but some folks want to do the keeping up with the Joneses. So now you got the new house. Now you want to get the new car. Now you want to, I want to do this project, that project. And now their cash is dwindling.
I can attest to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone's going to do projects on home. You want to make your own, but you also want to have some emergency funds.
Are you finding that a lot of new buyers are using their retirement savings to help purchase homes, or
Majority?
Really?
Yeah, they'll take a small loan. They'll have some of their cash and take a small loan out against their 401 or some sort of retirement.
So what is it? It's up to $10,000 now that they can take out of there without receiving penalties.
Liquidation of their tax, they can take 10%. I think that was during COVID, but a lot of people actually take loans because then there's no penalties if you take a loan.
Okay.
So the loans, depending on how your retirement is set up, you can do.
They would do like a 401k or employer loan.
Right. So a 401k, they'll allow you to take up to 50%, no more than 50,000. So if you got 150,000, God bless, you just can't take more than 50. If you only have, let's say, 40,000, they're only going to let you take up to 20. And there might be some fees in there to process it, but you get close to $20,000.
Now, in my world, we try our best not to do that for obvious reasons, so that they're not impacting their financial future. But I definitely can see that when we start to look at the rates today, like last year, we had a great market, up over 20% return last year. I get a lot of clients that are existing homeowners that they will come to me and say, hey, Bryan, should I pay off my mortgage right now? What would be your response if you had someone that wanted to refinance, but yet we're looking at the market, the way that it's been performing? What would be your response?
There's got to be a reason. So for the folks that are refinancing in this climate, with the way how high interest rates are, they're doing debt consolidation or maybe buying another home. But for the most part, a lot of the plans that I've issued are like a blended interest rate plan, where let's say they do have a 3% interest rate, but their credit cards are 15, 20%. They got a personal loan out for 10%. They got a project coming down. They're like, I don't know what to do. I'm engulfed in all this credit card debt. So I'm like, all right, well, let's look at your payment. I mean, you're paying an extra $1,500 in credit card payments per month, and you have another project coming down the line. Credit cards are not tax deductible. I was like, let's just wrap it in your mortgage. Unfortunately, you do lose the 3%, but now you can cut that payment in half. Now it's not $1,500. Now it's $700 extra. You shave that payment by in half. Now you add it to your mortgage, and maybe we do a 30-year mortgage to keep your payment low, or we can do a 25 or a 20. So you're not resetting the whole amount. A lot of people don't like going back to 30 years. Like, oh, I've been in my house 7 years. Now it's like I'm gonna have my house. Like I'm never gonna be able to pay it off. I'm like, all right, well let's massage this plan. Let's see what makes sense for you.
Are people doing more lines of credit? Or
yeah, lines of credit have increased a lot. They might have that too, which I didn't mention before. A line of credit is anywhere from 8 to 10% right now. They want to hold on to that 3, so they'll pay the 8 to 9. But if it's been 2 years and they have, again, the credit card debt and whatnot, they could put it all together, and their blended interest between everything might be, what did I say, 9% on a home equity, 3% on their first mortgage, 15 to 20% in credit card. So they might have like a blended interest of like in that 8 to 9% range anyways, if you add it all together. So it's like, let's just give you a fixed payment at 6%, and all that other debt goes away. And now you got a 6% first mortgage.
Well, this is actually interesting. I have a ton of questions that I want to ask you, but I want to just take a pause for a 5-minute break, and we will be right back to more conversations and cocktails.
That was good.